Hey everyone, welcome to the Do the Thing podcast. This is your host, Stacey Lauren. Well, I love these kinds of interviews because my next guest was actually a referral from my personal holistic coach, and she's also a Do the Thing expert, Dr. Nancy De Andrade, and she had told me that I had to interview her because she is up to amazing things. And oh my gosh, you guys, she's in the middle of creating a nonprofit to help foster youth have more support and doing it through art therapy and so many other things. And so it's really cool to get a chance to talk to her while she's still in this creation phase, because I think so many times you can see people after they've done the thing and think that you can't even get started because it seems like they had it all figured out. But being able to talk to her right now while she's still in this building phase is exciting because you don't need to know every step. You just need to know that you want it. And so I love having this opportunity to really sit down with her and find out why she's decided to do this and what's giving her the courage to be able to do it as well. And so I am so excited to introduce Vanessa to the show. Hey, Vanessa.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Good. I'm so happy. This is, oh my gosh, it's like people's dream, right? Is to be able to do something like this. But it's the thing that people have in the back of their mind. They're not actually taking, a lot of people, they're not actually taking the steps to do it. It's always, oh, when I have this or when all these things are perfectly aligned is when they will start. But here you are starting it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because I feel like a lot of people are really discouraged. They're like, well, I'm not there yet. They see everybody at their age kind of, I guess you could say, more successful than they are, and then they get discouraged. But I feel like you can start at any time. Everybody has their own pace, and it's just like it's on your own time. You don't have to be like everyone else. So yeah, it kind of gets discouraging, but starting it's something that I've wanted to do for a while. And you get those thoughts like, hey, I don't have this, so I don't even think I could start it. But you don't need to have everything figured out, like you mentioned. So
yeah, and I think we're talking at the perfect time. So I'm really excited to do this with you. I'd love to just have you share your story about who you are and why you're deciding to start this too.
Yes. So basically, I grew up here in California, but at a very young age, I think I was like in elementary school, I had moved with my mom and my sister to a different state, which was Washington State. After moving, there was this whole situation that happened, and we were placed into foster care. So my sister and we had a younger brother at that time. He was about like 2 years old. So we were all placed into foster care. And that was very, very traumatizing for me because you're ripped away from your parents. You're moved to a completely different city. You don't know these people. And then you get ripped away from your other siblings. So my sister and I were able to go into one foster home because they took younger girls. And then my younger brother, he was around 2, he had to go to a different foster home. So that situation was even more heartbreaking, and it was just so difficult to go through that. And it's very traumatizing for a child to go through that. Still to this day, I kind of get emotional about it because it's just something that a child shouldn't go through. And, sometimes it does happen. And with that, I never gave up hope, and I just never, because I know there's a lot of kids that do get placed into the foster care system and they just give up. They are what is it called? The caseworker. There we go. The caseworker would always tell us like, oh, you guys are really good. You guys are doing amazing in school. We would get straight A's and B's. So they were always very surprised with my sister and I because we did so well. So I'm the oldest, and I always wanted to be the stronger one. So I didn't really want to show a lot of emotion. I mean, it's not good to do that, but I just wanted to be the stronger one for my siblings to show them that anything is possible, even through the circumstances that we are put through. So yeah, I just kept pushing, and I kept getting amazing grades. We were really good because I guess there were some kids that would run away. And yeah, it was just a very traumatizing time in my life. Also, at a very young age, we lost our dad. I think I was like 4. So they say it was suicide, but I'm not sure if it was suicide or somebody had murdered him. So that was also something very traumatizing. I mean, I don't remember much, but yeah, I've been through quite a bit. So after that, I moved in with my aunt. She took us in and we went to school. We still did amazing in school. I went to college and got my bachelor's degree, which only about 3 to 4% of former foster youth or current foster youth get a bachelor's degree, which is an amazing accomplishment. So yeah, I got my bachelor's degree. And then after that, I was trying to decide kind of what I wanted to do in my life. I really wanted to go into the medical field. So I wanted to be a doctor, so many other things that I was switching my mind between a neurologist, anesthesiologist, then a dentist. Then I love animals. So I was like, maybe I should go into the vet field. So I kind of volunteered in that and I really enjoyed it. But I just didn't feel like that was my life purpose. So I kind of was trying to figure out what my life purpose was because we feel like at a very young age, like in high school, we need to know exactly where we're going, what we're going to do. But I feel like most of the time we don't, and that's okay. So I kind of felt like sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing in my life? I'm not doing anything. Even though I was doing quite a bit, I did so much for being so young. I did quite a bit. I also have not a book published, but there's a story published through a book. So technically, I guess I'm a published author. So yeah, I did so much and I just felt like I wasn't doing enough or I just wasn't doing what I was meant to do. So I kind of started doing other things and I started working at this community college where it was a program for former and current foster youth. So after being there and working there, I was like, I love talking to them and I really love encouraging them and showing them that anything is possible. So I was like, okay, I think my life purpose is to help them and encourage them and make them see, hey, look what I've been through. You can do this. And I know most people have been, and current former foster youth have been through so much. So I feel like they kind of give up hope and they don't see people wanting to help them as much because the foster care system is so broken that most of the time they don't get the help that they need. So I feel like my purpose in this world is to help them kind of be successful because I know they can be. So when I was like, okay, maybe I should start a nonprofit. So I started volunteering at other nonprofits and I just enjoy it so much. There's this nonprofit that I volunteer at. And just to see the kids, their faces and be happy and with everything that they get help with, it just gets me excited. So I was like, this is my purpose. This is what I'm meant to do. Because, foster youth go through so much. They get so much change in their lives. They are placed into a new home. They get so many things taken away. Their parents get taken away, their siblings. And it's just something that children shouldn't go through. And I know what it feels like. So I just wanted to provide them with something that they can take wherever they go and provide them with something that can't be taken away from them and something that can give them hope of, a brighter future. So that's why I wanted to create this, because with the arts, they can learn so much about themselves and they can see that they are very artistic. And with that, they can actually also create a job and be very successful in that route. So whether it be drawing, painting, music, poetry, dancing. So it was just something that I wanted to create. And that's where I ended up where I'm at now.
Yeah, there's so much in there that I want to explore because on one hand, just being a kid and going through everything that you went through and then not giving up hope. I'm just curious, what went through your mind? How were you able to push past that where a lot of people want to give up and then you were able to persevere in that way?
So in my mind, I was thinking more so about my siblings and not wanting to see me fail, I guess I could say. So kind of what pushed me through everything was, I guess, family, even though it's taken away from me, but family. especially my siblings. I love them to death and they're everything to me. So I feel like they kind of kept me pushing through these hard times. And I felt like I had a purpose in this life where I can't give up because of these people that I will be helping in the future. So in my mind, as a child, I was just thinking more so about my siblings. Like, hey, I don't want them to see me crying, even though it's okay to show emotions. But for some reason, I thought that's how I should do it because I don't know, I was a child, so I didn't really think about it too much. But I just didn't want them to see me emotional. I want them to see me as a strong person and that we are able to get through this. So I just wanted a better future for them. So, and then for myself. So I think that's more so what I was thinking about and wanting to be happy in the end. So yeah, I feel like my siblings are what kind of kept me going and thinking more so about my future. And because I know it's very hard for people to give up because it's a very difficult situation that you could be in. So yeah, I would say more so my siblings and the future that I wanted and kind of to make them happy in a way, I guess.
Yeah, it makes sense because when you have that responsibility for other people, it's almost like you're not even able to think about yourself at that point. You're just focused on making sure you're, in a way, helping them.
Yeah, because I was the older one, so I thought that's what I needed to do, even though I was 12 years old. I just thought I need to be more mature and kind of think more so kind of like an adult, but I wasn't an adult, so I don't even know what an adult would think about. So it was like, I'm the older one. I need to take charge and I need to take care of them. That's what was on my mind.
Yeah. And then it could kind of goes, you gave me a big epiphany when you were saying earlier, because I just had this conversation. I was just interviewed on the Healing Words podcast with Pamela Nichols yesterday. And she had asked me the question, what would I change about my past? What would I want to tell my old self? And what I wanted to tell my old self was stop being so hard on yourself. You're doing amazing work. And you kind of spoke to that where you were saying how you felt like you were doing work. You got your degree and you've been doing well in school and all these things, but you felt like you weren't doing enough. And I love what you said about you weren't living into your purpose. And that's probably why you were feeling that way.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I feel like sometimes we're doing so much and we think we're not doing enough. But in reality, we're doing so much that a lot of people don't accomplish. And yeah, we're being hard on ourselves, like you mentioned. And I feel like once you find your life purpose, you kind of like, oh my gosh, I did so much and this is what I'm meant to do. I'm doing something. So yeah, I gotta agree with you with that kind of not being too hard on yourself.
Yeah. And it's also tapping into, are you doing the things that you're doing for you or are you doing them for others? And it sounds like you sort of went through that when you were younger, where you were doing for others. And then you realized, no, it's time for me to tap into my purpose now.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, we always, well, depends on the person that you are, but you think about others, but you need to take care of yourself and you need to do what you love. Because if you don't take care of yourself and you kind of break down, then how are you going to take care of others? So I feel like, yeah, you need to do what you love to do. Because in the end, I mean, most people want to be happy. And I don't feel like money only makes a person happy. But that life purpose, I feel like if everyone were to figure out what their life purpose is, I feel like it would be so great for them and they would feel like they're doing enough.
What do you think would be a step for someone to be able to tap into their life purpose based on your experience?
Me personally, what I always recommend people is to volunteer in things that you feel like you would like to do. So, for example, I volunteered in so many different aspects. My first volunteer volunteer was being a tutor for elementary and middle schoolers. I think I was a freshman or sophomore in high school. So that was my very first volunteer job where I kind of explored kind of my tutoring and working with kids. And then I eventually started volunteering in other places. I had asked my dentist, hey, can I volunteer here to kind of, or shadow you just to learn more? And he said, he agreed with it. So he said yes. And then I also volunteered at the animal shelter because I kind of want to go in that route. Also, the nonprofits I've started volunteering at. So I feel like volunteer work is amazing to know if you would actually like it or not. So that's kind of something that, yeah, I definitely recommend people doing to kind of figure out, okay, this is what I do like, this is what I don't like. So kind of figuring out those things through volunteering.
Yeah. Okay. So I feel like I have to go here because this is the Do the Thing podcast. So if sometimes people, when they hear that, they get overwhelmed and they're like, oh, I can't even start. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
Can you just give them a quick way of just getting started to be able to find those places and then to actually volunteer at one of them?
Yeah. So what I did was kind of research online and checking out what are the closest places. For example, the animal shelter. What is the closest animal shelter there is? So I went to go visit and I asked somebody there, hey, how can I volunteer? So kind of researching places around you, even if it's like walking a minute away from your home, if it's something that you find that is very close to your home, just go and just say, hey, do you guys take volunteers? I've called a lot of places too. Just calling is also fine. Some places are like, oh, we're not taking volunteers. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So, I mean, that's kind of a little bit discouraging, but I just say keep trying because some people will take volunteers and they're more than happy to. So kind of just doing your research, what's around your area that you want to do. Or even if, for example, you want to become a doctor, you have a doctor that you go to ever so often. So, I mean, asking that doctor, hey, do you guys take volunteers or do you know of a place where I can volunteer? So kind of asking those people that you see so often. Because I even asked my doctor saying, hey, I wanted to go to med school. And she's like, here's my number. Tell me and I will help you out with everything. So there's a lot of people that are willing to help, which is amazing. And you don't know if you don't try. What's the worst thing? Say no. So you move on to the next one. So it's just kind of also asking the people that you know, personally know, or that you see that are like your doctor or anything like that. They may have some resources for you because I feel like a lot of people don't ask and they could potentially have so many resources for you that you don't even have to look any further. So yeah, that's my recommendation.
I'm so curious, how do you think you built that muscle of asking for help? Because you're right. I think a lot of people feel like embarrassed or like, oh, I should know this, or just they don't want to look a certain way. And I'm curious, how is that something you've adapted in your life?
Yeah. So actually at a very young age, probably when I can remember, like elementary school, middle school, high school, I was very shy. I didn't like talking to people. I preferred to be on my own. Right from school, I went straight to home. I didn't really like asking for help. So it's just something that as a child, I didn't like asking for help. I didn't like talking to people. And deep down, I think I love talking to people, but I just kind of restrict myself. Then I got to college and then I kind of started seeing, okay, closed mouths don't get fed. And I saw that, okay, I need to ask for help if I want to succeed in whatever I want to do. So kind of breaking myself out of that shell, it would scare me, terrify me to talk in front of people. In middle school, I can remember a day where I had to present a project in front of class and I was terrified. I walked out of the class, just got up and walked out and started crying. And my partner was like, what's wrong? I was like, I don't want to do it. So she's like, no, it's okay. You can sit down by the computer, just read and you'll be fine. So those are kind of like my times that I remember being terrified of talking in front of people. So kind of putting myself out there because I did this book and I had to speak at the mayor's office. So that was kind of one of my starting points of speaking in front of a big crowd. It's very nerve-wracking. So kind of there, I started kind of breaking out of my shell, and it's still kind of scary, but kind of realizing, okay, if I want to succeed, I need to ask for that help. And kind of realizing, okay, the worst that they can say is no. And that's the worst thing that they can say to me, which is not so bad when I really think about it. So I kind of me thinking about it, okay, let me just do it. And if they say no, it's okay. There's so many other people that would say yes to me. So kind of encouraging myself, okay, let me go do this because I only have one life to live. And let me just do it. The worst they can say is no. And that is not so bad. There's other people that will say yes to me. So that's kind of my way of thinking as I grew up.
I love the idea of what is the worst that's going to happen. And then it kind of like moves you through to be able to do it. And then knowing that some people are going to say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're going to get no's a lot, but it's okay because there are people that will be saying yes to you.
Yeah. So I'd love to hear about your nonprofit. And the first thing I'm curious about is how do you think you're getting the courage? And I'm sure every day it's a courage thing where you're like, okay, I could do this. I could do this. I'm just curious how that even started, and then how are you getting yourself through these things that you're having to navigate as you're starting to create it?
Yeah, so how I kind of started, honestly, I just started doing some research at first, but then I don't know, I felt like kind of discouraged, and I felt like I don't know if I want to do this kind of thing. So at first I was kind of like that, and I was like, I don't know, that seems like a lot of work. Am I able to do it? So I was kind of like that at the beginning. And then I started doing my research, and I think figuring out my why and figuring out why I want to do this is kind of helped me push through this, because if I don't do this, then I'm not going to be helping the people that I want to help. There's also a friend that I have that he created his own business from scratch. I was like, yeah, you should start it. I would encourage him all the time. I'm like, yeah, start it. So he eventually did start it, and it's a huge, I feel like very well known now. I'll know about it. So I'm like, if he's able to do it, I encouraged him to do it. So if he's do it, why can't I do it? So yeah, because there's so many resources that people are like, well, they're already doing that nonprofit, so I can't do that. But there's so many resources out there that if there could be 20 million nonprofits and you will still have those resources to create that nonprofit. So I kind of started off with being doubtful, and then I was like, no, I can actually do this. And then I kind of did my research. Then I got the holistic coach. So she kind of helped me push through, and kind of having a coach to guide you through with giving you different ideas that you can't get on your own is actually very amazing. So that actually helped me push even harder towards this. And then I started basically, I don't have a nonprofit yet, but I started purchasing items like art supplies on my own with my own money. And I started creating these little groups. Foster youth come and we have paint nights. Yeah, multiple. And that kind of gave me even more motivation, because I'm like, I love being around these people. I enjoy talking to them, encouraging them. And they seem like they're having so much fun. So I was like, oh my gosh, I really love it. This is what I want to do. So kind of starting it by not technically starting it, I guess, is kind of like, okay, let me start doing little by little. Even if one person shows up, it will be fine. So then after kind of doing that, it kind of got me even more encouraged and saw that that is something that I want to do. So right now I'm in that stage where I'm doing these art nights once a week. And it's something that I really enjoy doing. And even though it's coming from out of pocket, it's okay. So eventually I want it to be even bigger and bigger. And that way more people know about it, and potentially then kind of figure out the nonprofit name and going from there.
I mean, Vanessa, that is so cool. So the thing that I'm loving about this, there's so much I love about it. Obviously, when you create it, it's going to be amazing. But I love that you weren't sitting there going, oh, when I do this, when I do this, when I do this, when I do this, you're already doing the thing. You're doing these art nights, which is an amazing step. You volunteered at these nonprofits. You figured out you really do like it. You got into your why. And then you started the art nights, which is to me, you were able to figure out what's one thing I can do now rather than wait for a year after the 501c and all these other things are created. You can already start it. And I think that's so cool.
Yeah, because I feel like we have this huge plan in our head, like, and then we get overwhelmed. And they're like, I can't do all that right now. And then we kind of like, I can't do that right now, so I'm not going to do it. So I think kind of starting off small and being like, okay, I can purchase these items on my own. It's not going to take too much money out of my pocket. I can do it. And then kind of starting off small and then eventually getting to your main goal. So yeah, I think we overwhelm ourselves because we think of a bigger picture where we need to start small and kind of go from the small points and then head to the bigger point.
Totally. Where are you doing the art nights? Are they at a place or?
So they're currently actually at the college that I work at. So I'm basically, since I know of the program there it's called the Guardian Scholars Program. So a lot of colleges do have this program. I asked the program director saying, hey, can I use your space? Because they have their own little space. Can I use your space and can I create these flyers and you can send them out to the current and former foster youth because they have the whole list and they already have contact with these students. So I was like, that would be the easiest way for me to do it because I already have this whole program with, I think it's about like 200 and something students already. So I think that would be easier for me to do than making a Facebook group and potentially nobody would be seeing it as often with current and former foster youth. So I was like, this is just perfect. So I do it at the program there, the Guardian Scholars Program at the college that I work at. And that's the space that I'm using right now. But yeah, I'm thinking of also doing outdoors kind of things. Since summer's coming, so I'm thinking of doing something outdoors or like the beach kind of thing to invite people. But yeah, that's currently where I'm doing it right now.
How did you get yourself over what you said earlier where you're like, oh, regardless of how many people show up? How did you get yourself to be okay with whatever happened to happen?
The people who are very successful that we do see, some of them started off with nothing. So I was like, even if I help that one person, I will be happy with that. So kind of knowing that you're at least helping somebody, I feel like that kind of got me through it. Like, okay, I can do this. And even if one person shows up, that is totally fine because then they may be like, hey, this was really fun. You should come next time. Then they could start telling more people. So I feel like me thinking about just helping that one person, I was totally fine with just one person showing up.
I love what you're doing. I'm so excited. And so what's like your next step? What are you doing now? What's kind of your next plan?
So my next plan is to continue doing these, kind of writing down everything that I'm doing, like making a list so anyone that wants to start one can do it, making that list, and then from there kind of going to businesses saying, hey, would you be able to sponsor this to provide like maybe food or something for this event? So kind of first writing every step that I'm doing and kind of having that rap sheet of like, okay, look at how many events I've done. And this is what, if you sponsor, this is what it's going towards. So I think I'm just building right now because I think I've done like maybe 4 of these events. So I kind of want to build even more to show all this information. So in case they ask for what is this going towards, I'm like, this is everything that I'm doing and this is what it's going towards. So kind of continuing these and starting to get them a little bit bigger because the last time I did it, I think when I first started it, I think it was only 4 people showed up, which was totally fine. And
yeah,
the last time I did it, it was 8 people, which I was so surprised. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. So even more people are showing up.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I'm heading towards, is just kind of building that to where I can write down everything that I'm doing to show people who would want to sponsor all this information, to see that it is going towards something and what exactly I'm doing.
I have to connect you to Tomasa. I did an episode with her. She does a community cleanup event in Linda Vista area, and she does that thing where she's getting sponsors and things, and maybe you guys can collaborate since it's totally different things that you're doing. It might be something that you could learn from each other on.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, any type of help, I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's great. Tell us your dreams for this. Where do you hope it to be in a couple of years?
My dream overall, I want to have a lot of these nonprofits, not just in California. I would love to have it in other states, having a bunch of these nonprofits and kind of having the art that these students create. I kind of want to make art galleries. And
oh my gosh, that'd be amazing.
I'm an artist myself. So I kind of, while they're creating their art, I kind of want to create mine as well, and showing these galleries and kind of getting people to come and purchase these arts. And whoever these students, if they create this art, I would like for some of that profit to go towards them, to show them, hey, look what you can do with this art. So I kind of want to do that. And then some of it going towards the nonprofit. With mine, I wanted all of it to go towards the nonprofit, but I was like, maybe I shouldn't do all of it, but I just want people to come and see these art galleries and purchase these art pieces that these students have created, and making it really big to where a lot of these students can see, or these current and former foster youth can see, hey, I can do this for a living if this is what I truly want to do. And it's kind of getting the foot in the door and kind of getting them recognized. Oh my gosh, I bought this art piece from this person and their art is amazing. So that's where I want it to head to, where it's something big that everyone can see in the state. Even if it goes to the world, that would be even more amazing. But yeah, that's what my main goal would be.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I'm thinking of somebody else, maybe I'll do an introduction there too, is the Museum of Failure. It's a roving exhibition where he does it all over the world, and he partners with a company that helps facilitate it. And so I'm just kind of wondering if maybe he has some thoughts on how you could do it, just something to think about. So
yeah, amazing.
Cool. Yeah. And just so everyone knows, and who knows what's going to happen with either of these contacts that I have, but just by Vanessa saying yes to doing this interview, now my mind's going with all the ways that I can help, and then also the ways that she's helped me just by being able to have this conversation. So I think just by doing the thing and putting yourself out there and having these goals and dreams, so many things can happen that you don't even know until you actually take the step to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. So start off, even if it's small, start that thing that you want to do, and then get help from people. There's a lot of people who are willing to help. So, I mean, asking, it does not hurt to ask. The worst they can say is no. And you can find so many resources that way.
Amazing. Well, I would love to hear your number one piece of advice for the listeners on doing the thing.
A number one piece of advice, I feel like, is finding your why. Once you have found your why, I feel like the process would be so much easier and you will not be willing to give up. So finding your why is the most important thing, in my opinion. And once you find that, I promise you, you'll feel like you're doing enough.
What do you suggest they do to help them tap into their why?
Figuring out what they already love to do. So me, I've done art since I was little, and that's my passion. Finding a passion that you currently do and kind of thinking about, okay, what can I do with this? If you want to help people, figuring out how you can help people with that passion that you have. So I feel like if you already know your passion, connecting it with other things that you love to do and kind of bringing it together. Because when I was first thinking about it, I was thinking of just being an artist, but I felt like that wasn't my life purpose. So you get so many ideas in your head that you're like, okay, what do I do? And tapping into that, it can be a little bit difficult at first. So kind of write down everything that you love to do, your passions, what you think you would want to do in the future as a job, writing that all down and kind of getting involved with those certain things and being like, okay, I don't know if I really like this or I love this and I could do my passion at the same time. That would be great. So kind of writing stuff down, definitely that's my number one thing that I would recommend is writing everything down and kind of connecting everything and trying things out. Because without trying it out, you don't know if you're going to like it. So trying things out after writing it down and kind of thinking of other ideas. Because sometimes when you're trying something out, you come up with other ideas and you're like, oh, let me write that down because that's another great idea that I could potentially do. So yeah, trying stuff out, writing stuff down and going from there because your mind, you can create so many things in your mind that if you write everything down, then you're starting to connect things and you're like, okay, yeah, I found out what I want to do in life.
What's coming alive for you after our conversation today?
I'm just even more excited to continue and just talking to you. I kind of think more so like, oh my gosh, well, what can this turn into? And in my mind, I'm thinking of all these things, these amazing things that can happen. And I'm even more excited with talking with you, Stacey. I just have more passion and I'm like, I can do this. So it just gets me even more excited and more motivated to continue doing what I am doing. So yeah, I'm really thankful.
Thank you so much for doing this with me. I'm blown away by what you're doing, and I'm just really excited to continue to see you on this journey.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. I've always wanted to be on a podcast. So it's like, yes, I'm doing something that I would like to do. So yes, thank you so much for the opportunity and being able to talk to me and having me on this, which, yeah, it's an amazing thing that you're doing and I love it.
Please share with everyone if there's some way they can follow you along on the journey, even if it's just a personal Instagram or something.
Yeah, so my personal Instagram, it's at the underscore Vanessa, Vanessa, Casares, C as in cat, A, Z as in zebra, Ares. And that's my personal. So right now I still haven't created one from a nonprofit, but I also do have an art one for my art, which is at Real Art Stick. So the real art and then STIC. So kind of realistic, but I just put the art in there.
I love that. That's so good. Oh my gosh.
That's my art page. And I still have yet to create a nonprofit one because I need to come up with a name before I want to create the Instagram page. So yeah, those are Instagram pages that I have. I just created a TikTok, so I don't even know my TikTok information. So yeah, that's what I have so far. Hopefully I would have a YouTube soon too. So, but yeah, that's my current Instagram.
Well, we'll have to have you come back on after things are going. It'll be fun. We can kind of keep up with your Do the Thing story.
Yes, that would be amazing.
And for the listeners, do the thing. Don't wait for opportunity. Create it.